Mhm.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dana Wade. I am the Executive Director of Mu Alpha Theta, based at the University of Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner. And we are gathering today with our student delegate officers who were elected at our last national convention, which was back in July in Washington, D.C. And they have prepared some great information to share with you today. And I'm going to turn it over to them. I think Dylan's going to start first. He's our president. And we're so glad that so many of you are joining us today. We hope to answer your questions and give you a chance to speak as well whenever you're ready. So Dylan, I'm turning it over to you.
Yes, and you guys can also use the chat if you have any questions throughout the presentation. And we also have at the end, we have a special question slide and stuff. So hi guys, welcome to the National Office of Mu Alpha Theta. We are very excited to be having this meeting. We've been meeting with the governing board for a couple months now, and we're all four of us are really excited to get the ball rolling on this. So with that, let's just start with who are we? So let's introduce ourselves to you guys. So my name is Dylan Roten. I'm the president elected this July, and I go to Brother Martin High School, which is in New Orleans, Louisiana.
My name's Sharva Sullivan. I'm the current vice president, and I attend American Heritage Broward in Florida.
Hi, my name is Audrey Alino. I'm the secretary, and I attend Brentwood High School from Brentwood, Tennessee.
Hello, my name is Ria Pablo. I'm parliamentarian. I go to Thomas Jefferson High School, and I'm in Auburn, Washington.
All right, so we're going to start off with what is National Mu Alpha Theta? Because honestly, when I chose to attend National Convention this previous summer, I wasn't too familiar with the inner workings of the national office, and I really just wasn't that, I didn't know that much. So one of the things we want to achieve with this meeting is to start spreading the connection between the different levels of Mu Alpha Theta. So this meeting is being hosted by the national office, but then a step down, there's also state organizations. For not everyone has state organizations, but for example, I'm involved. I'm the secretary treasurer of Louisiana Mu Alpha Theta, and now Sharva is involved in the Florida Mu Alpha Theta. So there's a bunch of different state organizations that have similar proceedings and constitutions, and we also do state conventions, and then those flow down to the local chapters. But there are a lot of local chapters that, for example, don't have state organizations and just kind of go to national convention if they do. So what are the workings of the national office? So one of the big things we do are scholarships and grants, and these are available to seniors. And we're going to explain them later in the presentation much more into great detail, because Mu Alpha Theta is being very generous this year with the amount of scholarships that are available, and they're pretty decently sized scholarships, very helpful. So, and then another thing the national office does is we send around a newsletter every month. So these include messages from the adult governing body. They have information about the scholarships. We also have the online competitions. Some of the ones that are promoted through the national office are on the newsletter. And hopefully you guys as sponsors share that with you. But even if they don't, they're all available on the national website. So if you ever wanted to see an update about what's going on with Mu Alpha Theta, they're all on there. And yeah, as I said, there are competitions that aren't specifically hosted through National Mu Alpha Theta, but are promoted through the organization. And then the big thing that the national office does is the national convention. So this is being held June 25th through the 30th at the University of Arkansas. And again, the very next slide is going to be very in-depth about the national convention. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight was the role of the student delegate body, because the same thing, when I went to national convention this year, I wasn't 100% in the know about what the student delegate body does. So the student delegate body is the group of one representative from each high school that goes to national convention, and you break off into your regions, or the Mu Alpha Theta regions, and each of you decide on one person to, over the course of 3 days, decide on one person to choose to represent your region to the national office. And you have special, I forgot to mention, you have special delegate lunches that this happens at. And then from there, the regional, the people who have been chosen from the regions give speeches, and the whole delegate body votes on who they want to be the student delegates leaders. And then from there, we keep in contact with the adult governing body. We edit the newsletters, or we help, not edit, but we contribute to the newsletters. And yeah, and then we host things like we're so excited about doing today. So with that, I think we're ready to move on into more of the depths of the topics.
So what exactly is the National Convention? Basically, all students from all across America will come together in this year's Arkansas to be able to compete in math competitions, but also to be able to connect with each other and do fun things in the area. At National Convention, you have many different tests, not just one that gives your score. You have your individual test, which is just your basic multiple choice test that will be given for whether you're a theta, alpha, or mu. You have topic tests, which is multiple choice tests divided into smaller topics. So for example, it might be the history of math or linear algebra maybe. And then ciphering, you would have 12 open response questions that are, you take those tests individually. Gemini is where you work with a student from a different school and you try and answer questions with them. Then you have your School Bowl, which is 12 open response questions, which is similar to ciphering, but then you work with a team of 4. You have Chalk Talk, where this is kind of more individual. You have speeches given by the students on a specific topic, and you compete kind of like tournament style, see who has the best Chalk Talk. And then Poster, which you can see on the right of the screen there, that was, I believe, the winner for last year. And your school will work together throughout the week to create a poster that kind of has some math in there, and it represents the theme that's given at the beginning of the week. Your inter-school test is where you work together with students from your school or others and use your trivia and puzzle knowledge to try and win and compete. Next is Hustle, where 4 people from your school will work together to solve as many questions as possible with 5 rounds of 5 minutes each. This one is kind of more about speed by its name, Hustle. And you probably will not be able to solve all of them in the time. Next one is Relay, where 3 people work on problems and kind of use the answers to the other people's problems to solve their own, except the one catch is that they can't communicate with each other. So whatever answer is given to you from your theta member, you have to work with as an alpha for your response. Next is Speed Math, where you just try and solve as many problems as possible, aka speed. Next is Mental Math, kind of same thing. It's only 8 minutes long with 40 problems, and you're not allowed to write at all. And then next is Mystery Test, which it's a mystery, so I can't tell you that one. And then one of the fun activities last year and this year is going to be morning yoga, bright and early every day. You and anyone from your school can come and do some lovely yoga to wake you up in the morning. If there's any question, I know that was a lot of like rapid fire tests. If any of you guys have questions about any of them, feel free to put it in the chat while we're going over the next slide, which is about this year's convention. In the bottom left, if you want to write that down or something, is the National Convention Sponsors Packet for 2023. Your sponsor will have this and it's available online. But this year's convention will be at the University of Arkansas, June 25th through 30th. And right there, you can also see the excursion options. And basically on Wednesday, everybody gets to choose You can either go biking and hiking in the Ozarks or visit the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art.
All right, well,
Okay.
ready to pass it off?
So we have some scholarships that Mu Alpha Theta awards every year. The requirements are you have to be a graduating senior. So if you're graduating this year, 2023, you're eligible for these scholarships. We have 4 named scholarships. They're each $5,000 each. And the bullet points listed below. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing these wrong, but the Mary Ryan Memorial Scholarship, Sally Scudder Memorial Scholarship, the Paul R. Goody Scholarship, and the K. Wise Scholarship. And we also have 25 regular Mu Alpha Theta scholarships that are worth $4,000 each. And from each chapter, 2 people can apply, and they should be people who are loyal to Mu Alpha Theta and have shown good mathematics and participation in their local projects. All those application materials are due by February 1st, so that's coming up soon. So I would stay on top of that if you're interested in that. I'll paste the following 2 links in the chat if you're interested, but yeah.
And we wanted to emphasize here that, so what the governing board, some of the members are telling us was that all of this money is there, and you guys, everyone in Alpha Theta needs to kind of take advantage of it, because like, especially last year, there weren't a lot of applicants to the scholarships, but they're giving away at over 30 scholarships. So it's really important that everyone takes advantage of that, because, and if I'm not mistaken, it can go straight to your tuition, correct, Ria? Like it can go to your undergraduate, your studies.
That's correct.
So these are really valuable. And I know there's varying levels that go into the applications. Like some of them, there's a little writing involved. But all of that information is in the links provided. So.
Okay, so this slide is a little bit just giving you a brief overview of how to fundraise. So a big part of National Convention is obviously how do we get there? And a part of that is obviously the money component. And so it's really good if your clubs start fundraising right now, especially because National Convention isn't for a couple months. It's really good to start now. So the number one way, hands down, to fundraise is concessions, selling food, because everyone likes to buy food. So if you're just selling food, whether it's at school, at events, you can start to get a lot of money. And there's a couple of ways that I've seen different schools do it. Some of them, their schools allowed them to sell food during the lunchtime. For example, you can do some kind of bake sale, or after school where you sell things like candy or cupcakes, donuts, things like that are really good ways to make money. Other ways that I've seen it are themed bake sales. So for example, like a Pie Day bake sale on March 14th, where they sell pies. That can be another way to like kind of get people to buy what you're selling. Now, other than food, the other ways that you can do it are you can do something like merchandise. For example, you can have your club members design different t-shirt designs, vote on it, and then that can be like a little club activity. And then that can be like your school's shirt for the year. And then from there, you can like obviously make some money off of just like selling the shirts to different members in your club. The third one is reaching out to local businesses. So this is one that a lot of people don't know too much about. And so what I've noticed is that if you just email like 10, 15 companies that are in your local area, usually you'll get like maybe 2 to 3 of them that actually end up responding back and are willing to actually sponsor your club. And what they ask for is sometimes they'll ask you to play some kind of promotion video at like meetings or an event, or they can say like, just like they'll like want to come in and talk about their business, things like that are ways that your club can start getting some money just from like your local area. From there, the next one is something that's specific to Mu Alpha Theta, which is the grants. So similar to the scholarships, this is something that a lot of people aren't applying for, even though the money is there and national convention, like the national organization, is willingly like asking people to apply for these things. So the grants there's different kinds, and so the links are there. We're gonna be probably sending out this presentation afterwards, so you can click on all the links, you can like figure out what each of these are. But the Mu Alpha Theta based grants, for example, there's a lot of different kinds. There's some for if you're a new chapter, there's some if you're a new teacher and you're trying to get some resources for your classroom. There's also some when it comes to like if you're a student and you're trying to go to a competition and there's like travel costs involved or there's some kind of registration fee, the National Convention can subsidize some of that cost if you do apply for the grants. Now, the other one that I linked there was the MAA grant. So this one, it's run by MAA, which is the other big math organization in the US. And so this is another one that you can apply for. I don't know too much about it though, so you will want to go to that link and read up on what are the requirements for it, what kind of paperwork, whatever you need to fill out to get those grants. Next up is Snap Fundraiser and GoFundMe. So these are kind of things that you can send to people that you know, your friends, family. If you just get your whole club to send it out to like say 5-10 people, even if not all of them end up donating, it's a really good way because a lot of people, especially if you're talking about how you're trying to fundraise money to go to the national convention or different events that your club's trying to run, it can be a really good way if you just send it to people that you know and everyone does it, you can get like hundreds of dollars just from that. And the final one that I wanted to talk about is something that my own school did just last month, which is hosting an elementary or middle school competition. So this can be another like a big event for your club itself if you're trying to like see, okay, what kind of projects can my club do? Running a competition is a good one. But other than that, it can also be a good way to make money. So what we did, for example, is we wrote a test for middle schoolers. It was 6th to 8th grade. And we had people come in, we had a $10 registration fee. And then if you paid that fee, you were able to take the test. We gave out awards at the end. And it was also a good way to like fundraise money just from people in your local area, especially 6th to 8th graders, to get some math exposure, but also to help fundraise for the national convention or other events. You can also do things like, obviously the participation fee is the obvious way to get some money out of it, but you can also do things like a snack bar, sell food, like you can sell pizza during the competition. Things like that are different ways you can get some more money.
All right. So the next thing we have is just the slide just says what are your ideas / questions, but let me clarify that a little bit for you guys. So one of the things that we do at National Convention is we do kind of the fun stuff that's outside of math and the tests. So for example, this year in Washington, D.C., besides having our excursion dates, our excursion day, which was really fun. I think everyone had a blast this year there. We also did an ice cream social. We also did a college mixer. We did amazing race game. So just kind of other fun ways to get involved. So basically, it's okay if you guys don't, but we wanted to kind of open it up a little bit to see if there was any fun thing that you guys were like looking forward to or would hope to see in an upcoming convention. And then also if there were any questions about the stuff that we kind of just went over, because we did do a lot of information very quickly. And then I think also we're gonna have some of the officers kind of run it back a little and explain their experiences. But yeah.
So yeah, while the questions come in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute, last year I attended Mu Alpha Theta Nationals for the first time. I think most people, it was for the first time because it was online the past 2 years before that. But my school is pretty big, but we only had, I think, 9 people go last year. So we were one of the smaller schools, but I still think it was really worth it. We got to do a lot more things since we were a smaller school, but sometimes it was a little bit more hectic trying to like put everything together, go to the different tests at the correct times. But really it was just a fun way. I went with some of my friends, but also some people that I'd never really talked to before. And I think it was great. We got to get together and do something we're all passionate about, which was math. And then also supplement that with visiting to Washington, D.C. and kind of doing some more less mathy things, getting to know people through the mixers and inter-school test, which was kind of everybody working together to solve puzzles. Quite literally, one of them was a puzzle that we had to find out a specific number. But one thing I didn't get to see much about was the chalk talks, but I know Ria did, so we'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, so I didn't personally do Chalk Talk, but I knew the three members that did Chalk Talk, Mu, Alpha, and Theta. Our Mu, we do have a question in the chat. You see, okay. Is it that slide you're talking about? Or is it?
Which slide? What was like the content of it, I guess? And also, if y'all have a question, I mean, we said the chat, but also, well, I don't want to open a can of worms. But also, I feel like speaking would be fine.
Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
so it was this one, yeah.
Okay. But a little bit more on Chalk Talk. Basically, it's a timed speech or explanation on your math topic, and watching it from my own perspective, like it was very like exhilarating and cool to watch my friend talk about something they were really passionate about too. And my friend like did it right in the amount of time it was given, so it was amazing when like the timer just stopped right after, and we were all just like, it's amazing. It's like a very nice team bonding experience. I recommend that. I don't know how Chalk Talk is working this year because I heard that videos are going to be sent, and then that's how finalists are going to be determined. But if you're able to support your teammates who do make it to finalists, I do recommend supporting them, because it's always nice to have your teammates supporting you through that, because it's also a very like anxious thing, like talking under, like you're under that pressure too. But yeah, I think it was like a very cool experience from my point of view. And my friend said he had a lot of fun with it as well.
So I saw that in the chat, there was a question about doing Rubik's Cube or chess tournaments or science competitions during the convention. So that's actually something that we were trying to do some planning out for the convention, especially because during the convention, there's a little time pockets where everyone has some downtime that if you're interested, we could do some activities. And so this is something that we're actually trying to collect like ideas from different members, especially if you have an idea that you might want to contribute, we'll write these ones down. But if you have any other ideas, definitely send them in the chat and we'll add them to the list. So it could be anything. It could be like a dance, if you want to do some kind of dance event, and it could be literally anything. Oh, speaking of dance.
Can I add something really quick, or can I ask Miss Dana or Mr. Snow, where will this meeting be posted afterward?
We will probably post it to our website, and then we might also put it as a link on social media as well.
Okay, because someone had asked me that, so someone had direct message, so I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. So then, yeah, we also have a couple other questions. So okay, so we got the grant link. And then, okay, so can Alpha Theta do a dance at the national convention? That's an idea that we can definitely bring up to the governing body, to the adults. Because I know, for example, I know that Louisiana, we do have a dance. So, and we do like, we have a karaoke, we have game boards, like a game, like a board game room. That's pretty fun. So like, I think we could do something like a board game room. I think we could definitely bring up. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that at our next meeting. So thank you for that question. How would the competitions where you team up with people from another school work? Would it be randomized? So you guys want to take that question? Or did you have anything about what game that's referring to?
Well, there's the Gemini competition Mr. Snow talked about in the chat, and that one you have to find a partner that is your math level, so like mu, alpha, or theta, and it has to be from a different school, and then you partner up with them and then work on the test together. So you can choose for that one. And then I believe there's also an inter-school around the world in 80 minutes. And that one will be mostly like you'll work with your school, but I think if like there's an odd amount of people, you can team up with like some members from another school, I believe.
Yeah, and actually about that, I think one of the biggest positives about National Convention is the fact that you get to meet people that you would have never met otherwise. So we made friends, my school, so the Louisiana delegation kind of, because we went as a couple Louisiana schools, we made friends from Washington. We made friends from Hawaii. We made friends from a lot of friends from Florida, a lot of friends from Florida. But yeah, so I think that's one of the greatest things about this is that it gives you that opportunity to meet people from all over the country. And then what are some ways that you would recommend finding more students to attend the convention? At my school, we don't have any alphas on our team and we're struggling to recruit them. Interesting. Ria, Sharva, do you guys want to take a stab?
We have always had like our team is very like, I guess you could say extroverted. So like we're very much just like join math team, join our team, like, and that's usually how it goes. You kind of just gotta, sounds so weird, but like lure them in and be like, yeah, this is this really fun thing, and have them like try it out.
I think also another thing, so especially when we're talking about national convention, because that's like a big commitment, it's not just like, because I know so for Louisiana, we do local tournaments. And so those are like, it's one day and it's like you take the bus there and back. So it's like not as much of a commitment. But for national convention, I think one thing that you could do to kind of brand national convention to get to give it more broad appeal to people is maybe emphasize the points about, hey, we can go hiking and biking in the Ozarks. We're gonna have an ice cream social. We're gonna do all these other things, that it's not just math 24/7 for 5 days in a row. Even though obviously that's the focus, there's a bunch of other things. And I mean, I loved, so like me and my friends, we brought some games, and like we played cards with some people from other schools. Like it was just like that you make a lot of new bonds, and it's a really good opportunity, even not just for the math. So my suggestion would be to emphasize that aspect of it as well.
Another one that I want to mention is that at a lot of schools, especially at my school, there's people who don't know much about math competitions and the math club, if your school has a math club. And so what we have is like the teachers at our school, they like look out for like people who are like the best in their classes. And if they're not currently involved in math competitions or math club, then they tell them, oh, I would recommend you join the club because you're really skilled and you would probably have a really good time. And so it can also be something where like you tell like the math teachers at your school to be like looking out for people who would probably be interested in competing.
Yeah, I will say, like, if you have a math teacher, like tell like one of your freshmen, hey, I think you're really good at math. Like that's like a huge ego boost to these freshmen. And so those freshmen are like, oh wow, yeah, definitely. And so they'll be more likely to join like the Math Honor Society and like participate in your club.
Yeah. And then I'm seeing some of the other questions are getting answered in the chat, but just to say them really quickly, could Motivated sing or do karaoke? Definitely. That's an idea that's a great idea. I think that's an idea that we're considering on State Board as well. And so we'll definitely bring that up at the next meeting. Yeah, there's not a minimum or maximum. That was answered in the chat, but there's not a minimum or maximum number of people, but it does support. It's better for your team if you can have more people, because then you'll have a better shot at like winning stuff. But really, for the experience, there's not a minimum or maximum. And so, actually, a good anecdote for this is my school. I was the only person from my school. We had one, and it was me. But it was we traveled with three other schools from Louisiana, and there's this thing where you can share sponsors, or like you can transfer sponsors. That's what it is. There's a sponsor transfer that you can do that basically allows you to like attend with another school. So anyways, we ended up having a pretty good number of people from Louisiana, but we were from four different schools. So you could figure something out like that as well, you know.
Yeah, my school, as I said, I only had 9 people come from my school, including me. Like, and we only had 2 MUs. So I was a MU as a junior, and I did not have any calculus BC. But like, we just kind of worked on what we could, had fun doing it, and you know, just worked through it as a smaller team. We still won some stuff, just probably not as much as some of the larger teams, just because of the volume of people they had.
So I know another big thing is obviously how do you prepare for the national convention? And so we're actually planning on doing another meeting similar to this that's purely just based on like how you can prepare for it, what are different materials, different strategies, and also just resources in general when it comes to practicing for the national convention. Because I know a big problem that a lot of schools struggle with is that the national convention is like the first Mu Alpha Theta competition of the year for them for a lot of regions, especially because I know there's a few state conventions like in Florida and Louisiana, but outside of that, for a lot of schools, it's their first competition of the year. And so it can be a little intimidating for a lot of people. So we're going to try to do meetings to help people prepare for those competitions.
So I think we got a lot of questions done. Are there any other idea? Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah, here we go. So could you go over the process of becoming a student delegate again? Yes. So I don't know if maybe I wasn't clear when I said it. So the process of becoming a student delegate is your teacher. The first thing is your teacher has to choose your sponsor. Your sponsor has to choose one person to be the delegate for your school. And so there's not really a specific way that goes about. The different schools can do it different ways, but for that first step, it's literally like your teacher goes up to you and is like, will you represent our school and be the student delegate? So then after you do that, you go to these lunches. So when everyone's at the normal lunches, it's served by the hotel, or in this year's case, the university, you'll be going to a student delegate lunch. So that's one person from every single school goes to these student delegate lunches, and then you kind of section off your tables by region, and you can find the regions on the website. But like, for example, I want to say our region is like, it's Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Texas, maybe another state, but that's available on the website. So then the first meeting is kind of just like an intro, and you get introduced to what the student delegate body does. And then you also get introduced to the fact that you have to choose leaders at the end of the week. So then the next day is the day that each region has to decide what one person is going to be their nominee to be the student delegate officers. So each region, so like the Florida and like kind of more like southeast, more east, like coast area, they were much larger than our region. So it kind of took some time, because you have to come to a consensus on what one person is going to represent you. And that is by vote too. So like you can give a little, our table said like little speeches, like we didn't write out a speech, but we just kind of gave reasons why we think we wanted to do this, and then, so that is the second day. And then the third day of the lunches is the day that the student delegate body chooses the recipient of the Sister Scholastica Award, which is it's the sponsor award that more information is available on the website, but that's just kind of at convention. And then the last day is when all 4 of the like nominees, the regional nominees, you write or come up with a little speech that you deliver to the whole student delegate body. And then after that, everyone takes a vote, and the person with the most highest the votes becomes president, and then vice president, and so on. So that's kind of the overview of how you become a student delegate officer. Yeah, and so that all takes place at National Convention. So and mostly it's during lunches. So becoming a student delegate officer doesn't take away from any of your competition. It doesn't take away from the experience at all. Yeah. And then I see we have the online competition discussion going on in the group chat and the preparation for convention. Yeah. And then do you want to, can one of y'all restate what the poster convention is? Because I was kind of blown at the poster contest. I'm sorry. Because I was kind of blown away by the posters this year.
Yeah. So, oh, Audrey, do you want to do it?
No, you can go.
Okay, so from what I remember, so the poster contest, they don't announce the topic actually until you get to the convention. And then at the end of the opening ceremony, they kind of tell you what the theme of the year's poster contest is. So I remember last year, it was monuments. So everything was about monument. I think if there was an example on the previous slide, and if you looked at it, there was a poster, and it was entirely based on like Washington monuments. And so we don't know what the topic will be for the upcoming poster contest, but whatever the theme you have.
I'm sorry. Wasn't it was capital math, right? I'm pretty sure
it was capital math. Yeah.
Okay, it was capital.
Yeah, it was like capital math. Sorry, and not to correct you, but it's just because I remember because one of the people from Louisiana did a capital like credit card, and like it was like, and then it was like the Fibonacci sequence, and then they had like stuff on it. So it was like really cute. So you can kind of interpret it however you want to interpret it. But yeah, and then you can only do it during the days of convention. So like they have people making beautiful artistic masterpieces like in these short
Yeah.
days, while they're also doing 10 tests and 100 other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. For my school, oh sorry.
No,
For
you
my
go.
school, we since we had a smaller team, obviously, we all worked on it, and it was very interesting. We had a lot of like, oh, let's calculate the trajectory of Spider-Man as he swings off the Washington Monument. Then we had like graphing a flower. So we would have like the equation for how to graph a flower. And so it's just kind of like combining like the math topics with like beautiful art designs. And it's kind of crazy how it just all fits together.
Art supplies. I don't know if the other teams like bought supplies, but we literally, like, one of our teammates like brought a carry-on of just like all art supplies. It was like paintbrushes, like anything. So like so if you're going to prepare for that, definitely prepare with the art supplies because they do not provide with those. But yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, my team, the person we said to bring markers forgot them. So we ordered them on Amazon and they got delivered to the hotel. So it works. It will all work out.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, there's probably, I don't know, there might be like a Michael's nearby the campus. So yeah.
Just bring them. just plan ahead. But yeah, people they got very, very creative.
Yeah, do you want to go back to that slide that had the poster on it so that people can see
just
that?
take a look. I mean,
yeah, that was the first place, right?
You probably can't even see all the details, but all the equations and stuff that are hidden within it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a fun project.
It was put in the chat, but I'm trying to find it. It was put, so also just thinking ahead because so I'm a junior and the rest of the board are seniors, right? The rest of the officers are seniors. So, but for us and for some of the other younger people who might be on the chat, just mentioning, so the 2024 convention is going to be in Las Vegas and 2025 convention is going to be in Orlando. So those are two pretty awesome places. Yeah, just to look forward to. So do we have any other questions, comments, concerns, ideas?
So I'm going to post the link to the PowerPoint just so you can look back at it. I know there's a lot of different links for like the fundraising. There was also a lot of links for the grants and the scholarships. So just want to make sure everyone has that.
Yeah. Yes. And so, yeah, the next meeting that we're going to host is February 5th. And yeah, we're going to have more, since this is our first meeting, and it was kind of more of an overview of the national office and the national convention. So from now on, we're going to be hosting monthly meetings, getting ready for national convention, and we're going to have different focuses of them. So we really look forward to those. We've been working really hard, and yeah, thank you guys for all joining us today. Anything else from the officers?
No, thank you for you guys' time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys didn't see, our next meeting is February 5th, same time, so definitely be there.
We'll put more information about that in the newsletters and on social media. And so we just hope you bring more questions and to that meeting, and we hope we can answer them for you.
Dylan,
Thank
you should
you all so
link
much.
the Insta. You should
Oh,
link
yeah.
the Insta.
Oh, also, yes, it's at Mu Alpha Theta. You guys can find it pretty easily. At Mu Alpha Theta. But thank you all so much for joining us. Yeah, and we hope to see y'all at the next meeting, and then we hope to see y'all in Fayetteville in June. All right.